My name is Celine Kensington. I'm 42 years old. And before I tell you about the afternoon I came home to an empty house, before I tell you about the note taped to my wall, written in my own brother's handwriting, you need to understand how we got here. Because betrayal like that doesn't start with theft, it starts with sacrifice. When I was 25, my younger brother Maxwell was 15. That was the year our parents died. They were supposed to be in Chicago for a 3-day business conference. My mother had called me that morning from the airport, complaining about overpriced coffee and promising to bring me back one of those ugly souvenir mugs she always bought. They never made it home. A private plane malfunction. A headline I couldn't read without shaking. 2 coffins I was not old enough to process. One moment, I was a daughter. The next, I was an orphan and a guardian. Maxwell was just a kid. Tall for his age, still awkward, still sleeping with his bedroom light on. After the funeral, our aunts and uncles gathered in hushed voices, speaking in circles. Everyone had a reason they couldn't take him in. Too busy, too many kids, too much responsibility. I didn't argue, I didn't beg. I just said, I'll do it. And that was that. I became his legal guardian before I fully understood what that meant. At the time, I was working a regular accounting job. Nothing glamorous, decent pay, steady hours, enough for one person. Suddenly, it had to be enough for 2. I took on overtime whenever I could. Freelance bookkeeping on weekends, late nights, early mornings. I wanted Maxwell to have a good life, even without our parents. I bought him nice clothes from department stores while I wore clearance rack sweaters from Target. I made sure he had the newest iPhone, a good laptop for school. I threw him big birthday parties every year. Balloons, cake, friends filling the house with noise. I never wanted him to feel like he was missing out. While I ate ramen noodles and frozen dinners, he had hot meals and packed lunches. While I skipped vacations and said no to friends, he went on school trips and weekend outings. I didn't resent it. I told myself this was love. When it came time for college, I paid for everything. Tuition, books, housing. I even bought him a Honda Civic so he could get to campus easily. By the time he graduated with a business degree, I was exhausted, but proud. He hugged me at graduation and said, I couldn't have done this without you. I believed him. When Maxwell moved out and got a job at a marketing firm, I still paid his rent, $1,000 every month, because he couldn't afford it on his own. Every time he called to thank me, every time he said I was the best sister in the world, it made the sacrifice feel worth it. I didn't realize I was teaching him something dangerous, that my needs came last, that my love had no limits, that I would always clean up the mess. I had no idea how badly that lesson would come back to haunt me. The first time Maxwell brought Cassandra to my house, I remember thinking she was charming. She smiled easily, complimented my living room, asked polite questions about my job, my cooking, my life. She called me Celine instead of your sister, which I appreciated more than I realized at the time. Maxwell looked happy in a way I hadn't seen before, lighter, almost relieved, like he'd finally stepped into the life he believed he was meant to have. I wanted that for him. So when their relationship became serious, I supported it without hesitation. When they got engaged after 5 years of dating, I paid for the wedding. Over $22,000. Venue, catering, flowers, photographer. Every detail Cassandra wanted. I told myself it was a gift. Right after the wedding, I gave Maxwell $35,000 for the down payment on their house. A beautiful place in Bellevue. 2-car garage, backyard, hardwood floors. I remember standing in the empty living room with them before they moved in, Cassandra already talking about paint colors and built-in shelving. This is perfect, she'd said, squeezing Maxwell's hand. I smiled and nodded. I thought everything was fine. I thought Maxwell and I were solid. But something shifted after they got married. Quietly, almost invisibly. Cassandra started coming over more often. At first, I welcomed it. I thought she wanted to build a relationship with me, maybe even see me as family. Then she started borrowing things. It was small at first. A cardigan, a pair of boots. Just for a few days, she'd say. I have a work thing coming up. We wore the same size. It made things easy. I didn't mind. I really didn't. But she never brought anything back. Weeks would pass. I'd open my closet and notice gaps. Empty hangers. A jacket missing where I knew I'd hung it. Finally, I'd text her. Hey, can I get my blazer back? Her replies were always casual. Oh, I forgot. I'll bring it next time. I can't find it right now. I think I left it at my sister's. Next time never came. After a few months, I realized I'd lost at least 10 pieces of clothing. Not cheap things. Things I'd saved for. A cashmere sweater, designer jeans, a Michael Kors purse I'd bought after getting a small bonus at work. Each time I noticed something missing, a small, uncomfortable thought crept in. She's not borrowing. She's taking. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was overreacting. I didn't want to create tension. I didn't want to be that sister. But the resentment built anyway, quietly, heavily. The breaking point came one afternoon when Cassandra was at my house again, standing in front of my coat rack. She lifted a new suede jacket I'd just bought and held it up to herself, turning toward the mirror. "Oh, this is cute," she said. "Can I borrow this too?" Something inside me finally snapped. "Cassandra," I said carefully, "you still have my navy blouse, and my black slacks, and that sweater I lent you back in March." She froze. "I'm not lending you anything else," I continued, my voice steady but tight, "until you return what you already have." Her face flushed red. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped. "You're being so petty." "I'm not being petty," I said. "I'm asking for my things back." That was when Maxwell walked into the room. "What's going on?" he asked. Before I could answer, Cassandra turned to him. "Your sister is making a big deal out of nothing," she said. "I borrowed a few things, and she's acting like I stole them." Maxwell sighed like I was the inconvenience. "Celine, come on," he said. "Don't make a scene. Just give her the jacket. You have plenty of clothes." I stared at him. "She never returns anything I lend her," I said quietly. "So what?" he replied. "You can afford to buy more." That was the moment I realized something fundamental had changed. I wanted to argue. I wanted to list everything I'd done for him, every sacrifice, every dollar, every year. But I didn't. I swallowed it. I didn't want to fight with my brother. After that, I stopped letting Cassandra borrow anything. When she asked, I made excuses. "Oh, it's in the wash. I'm wearing that tomorrow." She stopped coming over as much after that. The warmth disappeared. The smiles became tight, polite, distant. Not long after, I finally had enough money to renovate my house. I'd been saving for years. New furniture from Pottery Barn, stainless steel appliances, a full upgrade. I even replaced my front door locks with a better system, something sturdier, more secure. My old furniture was still in great condition. I'd taken care of everything meticulously. I thought Maxwell and Cassandra might want it for their new house. I called Maxwell. "Hey," I said, "I just upgraded my furniture and appliances. Do you want my old stuff? A sofa, dining table, refrigerator? It all works perfectly." There was a pause. Then I heard Cassandra's voice in the background. "Tell her we don't want her hand-me-downs." Maxwell came back on the line. "Sorry, Celine, we're not interested. We want everything new." "Okay," I said, "no problem." I hung up, trying not to feel hurt. I donated most of it to Goodwill, sold a few pieces cheaply at a garage sale. I told myself it was fine. I had no idea what was coming. I came home from work around 6 o'clock that evening. It had been a long day. One of those days where your shoulders ache from sitting too stiff, where your head feels packed with numbers and unfinished emails. All I wanted was to kick off my shoes, make dinner, and sit in the quiet of my newly renovated house. That's when I noticed the door. It wasn't closed all the way. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten to lock it that morning. I was tired lately, distracted. Then I saw the lock. It was broken. The metal around it was scratched and bent. The doorframe splintered where it had been forced open. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Someone had broken into my house. I stood there for a moment, frozen, my hand still on my car keys. I considered calling the police immediately. Instead, I pushed the door open slowly, every nerve in my body on high alert. The house was silent, too silent. I stepped inside, and my breath caught in my throat. The living room was empty, not tidy empty. Stripped empty, the sectional sofa was gone, the coffee table, the area rug. I walked farther inside, my legs shaky. The dining room empty, the kitchen empty. My new refrigerator gone, the stove gone, the microwave gone. I opened cabinets in a daze. No dishes, no glasses, no cookware. Everything I had just bought, everything I had worked years to afford, was gone. I felt dizzy. It was like the house had been hollowed out, like someone had reached inside my life and scooped it clean. I was standing there, barely breathing, when I saw it. A piece of paper taped to the wall. My hands were shaking as I walked over and pulled it down. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Maxwell's. The note read, "Celine, we took your furniture and appliances to our house. We need it more than you do. You can buy more stuff later." Maxwell. For a moment, I couldn't move. I read it again. And again. My brother had broken into my house, stolen everything I owned, and left me a note like it was a favor. I was still standing there holding the paper when someone knocked on the open door. I nearly jumped out of my skin. "Celine?" a voice called. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, from across the street. She was in her mid-60s, always tending to her garden, always watching the neighborhood. "Are you okay?" she asked, stepping inside when she saw the state of the house. "I noticed your door was open." She looked around, her eyes widening. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Everything's gone." "It was Maxwell," I said, my voice numb as I handed her the note. She read it, her mouth tightening. "I saw him here this afternoon," she said. "He had a U-Haul truck. He was loading things out of your house." My stomach dropped. "I asked him what he was doing," she continued. "He told me you said he could take whatever he wanted for his new place. I didn't think anything of it. I'm so sorry." "It's not your fault," I said quietly. "He lied to you." Mrs. Rodriguez shook her head, clearly upset. "I have a Ring doorbell camera," she said. "It recorded everything. If you need the footage, I can give it to you." "Yes," I said immediately. "I need it." She went back across the street and returned with a flash drive. I stood there in my empty house, holding evidence of my own brother's crime. I felt foolish for not having my own cameras. I'd heard about break-ins in the neighborhood. I'd planned to install a system eventually. I never imagined the threat would come from inside my own family. I wasn't helpless, though. I had receipts. Every single one. Bank statements. Photos from when the furniture had been delivered. Custom invoices with my name and address on them. I called Maxwell. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Celine," he said, cheerful, like nothing was wrong. "Bring everything back," I said. "You stole my furniture and appliances. Bring it all back. Now." "I didn't steal anything," he replied calmly. "I took things you didn't need. You can buy more." "You broke my lock," I said. "You took everything without asking. That's theft." "Come on," he scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." Then I heard Cassandra's voice. "Give me the phone." There was a brief scuffle, then she was on the line. "You should be ashamed of yourself," she snapped. "You have money. We don't. We can barely afford our mortgage. This was our chance to make our house nice." "You stole from me," I said. "We didn't steal," she shot back. "We borrowed, and we already had contractors install built-in shelving around your entertainment center, so we can't return it anyway." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "You have 3 days," I said. "Bring everything back, or I'm calling the police." Cassandra laughed. "You won't call the police on your own brother," she said. Then she hung up. I stood there, shaking, the note still clenched in my hand. 17 years. 17 years of sacrifice. And this was how it ended. I didn't cry that night. I thought I would. I felt like I should. But instead, I sat in the middle of my empty living room, on the hardwood floor where my sofa used to be, and felt something harden inside my chest. Not grief. Resolve. The first thing I did was open my banking app. I scrolled until I found it. The automatic payment I'd set up over a year ago. $1,000 every month. Maxwell's mortgage. I canceled it effective immediately. My hands didn't shake this time. The next morning, I went to see my lawyer. His name was Robert Harrison. I'd worked with him before on business matters, and I trusted him. When I walked into his office carrying a folder thick with documents, he took one look at my face and knew this wasn't routine. I told him everything. The break-in, the note, the ring footage, the receipts, photos, bank statements. Robert listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, his expression grim. "Celine," he said, "this is clear-cut theft." Hearing it stated so plainly made my stomach turn. "But we're going to do this properly," he continued. "You gave them 3 days. We'll honor that. First, document everything. Photos of the broken lock, a full list of what's missing. Then, if they don't return it, we file a police report." He drafted an official letter right there in front of me. It stated that Maxwell and Cassandra had 3 days to return all stolen property or face legal action. He printed it, signed it, and sent it by certified mail so there could be no denial. I went home and waited. The first day passed. No call, no text, no apology. The second day passed. Silence. By the third day, I knew. They weren't coming back. On the fourth day, I walked into the police station with my evidence neatly organized in a folder. The officer who took my statement listened carefully. He didn't look surprised. "We'll investigate," he said. "This may take some time." A few hours later, my phone rang. It was Maxwell. I could hear him yelling before I even put the phone to my ear. "What did you do?" he screamed. "The police just showed up at our house. They detained us. They're questioning us." Cassandra was shouting in the background. "You're ruining our lives." "You had 3 days," I said calmly. "You chose not to return my property." "Celine, please," Maxwell said, his voice breaking. "Stop this. We'll bring everything back. Just drop the charges." "No," I said. I hung up. An hour later, Robert called me. "The police want to meet with you," he said. "Maxwell and Cassandra are at the station. They're asking to speak with you." Robert went with me. We were led into a small interview room. Maxwell and Cassandra were already there, sitting across from a detective. Maxwell looked terrible. His eyes were red, his shoulders slumped. Cassandra was crying. "Celine," Maxwell said, standing up as soon as he saw me. "Please, we made a mistake." "You should have returned my things when I asked," I said. 4 days ago." "We're sorry," Cassandra sobbed. "Please don't do this to us." I looked at my brother, the boy I'd raised, the child I'd protected, the adult I'd supported long past what anyone could reasonably expect. "I'm not dropping the charges," I said. "You'll return my property because the law requires it, but I'm done." I turned and walked out. 2 days later, Robert called again. "Maxwell and Cassandra were released on bail," he said. "They've confessed. A court date is set for next month." At the trial, the judge reviewed everything. The video footage, the receipts, the photos. Maxwell and Cassandra sat there looking small and defeated. The judge sentenced them to probation and fined them $2,000 each. He ordered them to return all my property immediately and pay for the damage to my lock, my hardwood floors, and my porch railing. When it was over, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. That afternoon, I went back to Robert's office. "I need to change my will," I said. "Everything is currently left to Maxwell. I want him removed completely." Robert didn't question me. "I'm setting up a charitable trust," I continued. "Children's charities, education funds. Everything goes there when I die." He nodded and began drafting the paperwork. 2 days later, Maxwell received the official notice. He was no longer my heir. 2 nights after the notice was sent, I heard pounding on my front door. Not a knock. Pounding, hard, angry. I was in the kitchen when it started, the sound echoing through the house and tightening something in my chest. I walked toward the door slowly and looked through the peephole. Maxwell and Cassandra. I didn't open the door all the way. I left the chain lock on. "What do you want?" I asked. Maxwell's face was red, his jaw clenched. "You changed your will," he shouted. "Are you serious right now? I'm your only family." "You broke into my house," I said calmly. "You stole everything I owned. Why would I leave you anything?" "That was a mistake," and he said quickly. "We already apologized." "No," I said. "You didn't. You only returned my property because the court forced you to." Cassandra pushed forward, tears streaking down her face. "I'm pregnant," she said. "We're having a baby. You're going to be an aunt. Don't you care about your niece or nephew?" I looked at her for a long moment. "Congratulations," I said, "but that doesn't change what you did." Her expression hardened. "You're cruel," she snapped. "You called the police on us. You humiliated us. And now you're taking away our inheritance." "It was never your inheritance, Buzz," I said. "It's my money. I earned it." "We need that money," she cried. "We can barely pay our bills." "That's not my problem." Maxwell grabbed the door. "Change the will back," he said. "You owe me." "I owe you?" I repeated, feeling something hot rise in my chest. "I raised you. I paid for your food, your clothes, your college, your car, your apartment, your wedding, your house down payment. I gave you 17 years of my life, and you think I owe you more?" "You were supposed to take care of me," he said. "That was your job." "My job was to raise you until you were 18, I said. "I did that. And then I kept going for 14 more years." Cassandra scoffed. "We made one mistake." "You made many," I said. "You stole from me, you lied, you damaged my house, and you never once genuinely apologized." "Fine," Maxwell snapped. "I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear?" "It's too late," I said. "I'm done. Don't contact me again. If you do, I'll get a restraining order." I closed the door. They pounded on it for a few more minutes, shouting, begging, accusing. I didn't respond. Eventually, they left. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The following days brought phone calls. My aunt, my uncle, each one urging me to reconsider. "Family is important," my aunt said. "He didn't think family was important when he robbed me," I replied. "He wants to apologize properly," my uncle insisted. "He had every opportunity." When they asked what I wanted them to tell Maxwell, my answer was simple. "Tell him I'm done." For the first time in a long time, I meant it. The week after Maxwell and Cassandra showed up at my door, I finally did something I should have done years ago. I installed a full security system. Cameras outside, motion sensors inside, an alarm loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. Watching the technicians work, drilling into walls and setting up monitors, I felt a strange mix of regret and relief. I regretted waiting so long. I felt relieved knowing I wouldn't be caught off guard again. A few days later, my furniture and appliances were returned, exactly as the court ordered. Movers unloaded everything piece by piece. My sectional was placed back where it belonged. My refrigerator hummed back to life in the kitchen. Even the scratches on the floor and the damage to the porch railing were repaired at Maxwell and Cassandra's expense. The house looked normal again. But I didn't feel normal. Something had shifted permanently. I'd lost my brother, the only family I had left. Some nights I wondered if I'd been too harsh. Then I remembered coming home to an empty house. I remembered the note. I remembered Cassandra laughing when I threatened to call the police. No. If anything, I'd been too lenient for too long. A few weeks later, my aunt called again. "Celine," she said gently, "Maxwell and Cassandra came to see me. They're struggling. They want to reconcile." "They chose not to reconcile when it mattered," I said. "He's your brother." He stopped acting like it a long time ago. After I hung up, I sat alone in my living room, looking around at the house I'd worked so hard for. For 17 years, my life had revolved around Maxwell. I'd never traveled abroad, never dated seriously, never lived for myself. Maybe it was time. I opened my laptop and started browsing vacation packages. Maui, Napa Valley, the Pacific Coast Highway. I booked 2 weeks in Maui, all-inclusive, without hesitating. When I told my friend Jenna, she clapped her hands. "Finally," she said. "You deserve this." The weeks that followed felt lighter. I stopped working overtime. I joined a hiking group. I took a photography class. I bought myself clothes I actually liked. Got my hair done at a salon downtown. Treated myself to massage therapy. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, my life was mine. The Maui trip was everything I needed. Sunrise over the ocean, warm sand under my feet, sea turtles while snorkeling. For 2 weeks, I wasn't anyone's caretaker. I was just Celine. When I came home, I felt ready for whatever came next. Maybe dating, maybe travel, maybe a new chapter entirely. I never spoke to Maxwell again. I heard through relatives that he and Cassandra had a baby girl named Brooklyn. They were struggling financially, but managing. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I loved my brother with everything I had. He chose money over family. Now I was choosing myself.